The obligatory awkward silence.
And yet again, everyone's quiet.
Yeah. As I've told you, you're allowed to talk when we hit live.
I feel like it's just the anticipation, you know?
Yes.
I know, right?
Build it up.
And what's worse is Sean sits here and tries to get everything up, so I can't even see you guys, so I just randomly look into the camera.
There, you can see them.
Yeah, now I can.
Into the abyss.
Yeah. Yeah, it just feels really awkward talking into like a random just screen. What's happening?
I don't know.
Uh-oh.
What's wrong?
I just the link won't pop up for. It just keeps. It doesn't want to share. We can go.
Yeah, let's just go. We'll get it up. The Facebook one up.
We are live.
Started off as a PG podcast, but then Devin just kept on dropping shits and fucks, and
I'm just trying to figure out what's in her mouth.
I just want to see him interview Francesco Accoli.
No, he's a good human being, is what he would say about himself. I'm sure.
Who's hosting this thing?
Yeah. Take charge, Kevin, would you? Jesus.
First time we ever met those guys. That was the major drunken pub argument.
I think you guys are the worst.
I'm gonna have to probably watch some Canucks hockey, unfortunately.
Just making friends left, right, and center, and probably some enemies as well.
Tell him to shut up. He needs to hear that every once in a while.
Off to a good start.
All right. We are live.
It's okay to talk when it goes live.
It is okay to talk when it goes live. Here we go. We are live on Facebook.com, The Hockey Podcast, YouTube.com, The Hockey Podcast. Welcome to The Hockey Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at podcast_hockey. Give us a like or a follow on Facebook. You give us a subscribe on the YouTube as well, as we are now sitting at what's the jersey number that we are at now?
Kevin, come on, pull it up. Come on.
The Perry Barazan is the one that's just popping into my head. Perry Barazan, the amount of subscribers. So subscribe, that would be great. And then the audio version of this will be out shortly after this, the live version. We've got a full house today. We've got the extra attacker on, or we're on a power play or something here. We've got Devin. Hello, Devin.
Hey, Kev, how's it going, man?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Chris is here as well. Hello.
hello.
Sean, Heidi, hello as well.
Hello, Kevin.
That's good. I was about to say good morning, but good afternoon, I guess.
Well, good morning. Good morning, Tyler.
BC.
Us West Coasters are still in the morning hours,
Yes.
so we can eat pierogies. We can, have bacon and eggs. We can have all of these things. I had to start with Devin because yesterday when we were doing the Jets recap, I completely forgot to actually acknowledge Devin in any way, shape, or form.
Wow.
I think go ahead, Devin.
I'm used to it. I've been forgotten by my family multiple times, even at a hockey rink and a mini putt course. And it's happened before in a podcast, so I'm used to it. But thank you for acknowledging me first. I appreciate that. That's
where I wanted to go there. Make sure Devin feels loved and accepted, right? So we'll go. We're kind of. I was flipping around. I try to flip it depending, but I think the bigger news is from Flames camp this week. Happy days are here everywhere. From Canucks land, they're on a 4-game winning streak. We'll get into that, as well as what the expectations are on that road trip. But I think the big story, and it's sort of some Canuck fans are inquiring, so I think it's good to start here. Sam Bennett was revealed yesterday during headlines on Second Intermission. Sam Bennett is looking for, the wording is fresh start. So that was confirmed through his agent, Darren Ferris, who also, through his agent, by the way, said that Victor Mete, who has not played with the Montreal Canadiens, is requesting to be traded as well. So I put out the poll on the podcast. Do you want Sam Bennett on your team, and I'll get the results here. We'll start with Heidi. Heidi, do you want Sam? What are your thoughts now on Sam Bennett wanting a fresh start?
Yeah, so I know we're gonna bring this up when we talk, when we continue talking Flames in a little bit. But I will mention that there was a players meeting, I believe on Friday or whatever day was. I think it was on Friday, and I think this might have actually came out of it. But honestly, Sam Bennett has just not been that number 4 pick that he was supposed to be, and he hasn't for years. And yes, he has flashes of brilliance every once in a while, and normally that's just in the playoffs. But honestly, if he wants to go, it doesn't surprise me. And good luck to him if he does. My issue with that is I don't think we're going to get anyone back. Like no one's just going to take him and give a good, or it'd be very silly for any GM to try and take him and actually try to give us an actual decent return on it. Like I would be only expecting to get a same kind of player in the same kind of situation from another team. So this doesn't surprise me at all.
Devin?
I wouldn't be surprised if this has gone back about a year, and it's just been kept quiet for this amount of time. And but it did come out. So I was questionable about why. It seems like he feels like he's not given a fair shake here in Calgary, and I disagree. I think that he hasn't proven himself to be able to solidify a spot in the top 6. The only time he's been in the top 6 is when there's been an injury or trying to figure something out, and it has been working. He keeps on taking stupid stick infractions in the offensive zone. And the good thing about him is that he's a playoff performer. So if we're going to get something back for him, I think, I don't know if I completely agree with Heidi, just because playoff performers are hard to come by. And he's usually our best player in the postseason. So I don't think we won't get anything back. But I'd be curious. I might see a package deal with potentially an Oliver Shillington, who's in a similar circumstance because he hasn't really been able to crack the lineup either. So there's always potential that there might be even more people or more players involved than Calgary has been led to believe in this trade. So I don't know. It's sad, but I understand where he's coming from.
Chris, and I mean, Sean and Tyler, will start with Chris here too. I mean, there's a very similar player in that draft named Jake Virtanen, who was picked 6th in that draft. I don't know. Did we ever do the 2014 redraft?
Yeah.
We did. Okay. Because that's a very fascinating draft of who both the Flames and the Canucks passed on in order to pick who they did. But I'll start with Chris. Would you like Sam Bennett on the Canucks?
Like, yes and no, because I feel like a change of scenery for either Virtanen or Bennett could be beneficial for the player. Just whether he'll be a fit here remains to be seen. The fact that he's a playoff performer, you definitely got to like that, though. But overall, I guess I'm not decided quite yet.
For me, it's just one of those things where it's not clearly, going to jump out at you like, oh, that's a huge upgrade if they make that deal. It'd be nice to have them because for all the reasons that have been outlined here already. But, are the Canucks just swapping pieces there, or are they actually definitively upgrading the team? I'm with Chris. I don't think we know that at this point. You'd actually have to give it a try. It's unfortunate that the news kind of leaks out now. I think that kind of hurts Calgary's negotiating ability now that it's out there. It does make you wonder how long this has been going on for. I'm with Devin. I think this has probably been lingering around in the background for a while.
Yeah, I'd love to have Sam Bennett on the Canucks. He's a center, left winger. Actually, can play all three positions. You look at who they have on the left wing or on the bottom six wings. They've got Gaudette and Virtanen have been playing, been swapping in and out. McEwen's come in and played really well, but they've got Roussel and then who am I drawing a blank on here?
You mentioned Sutter.
Well, yeah, Sutter's been on the wing for a bit, but he's back at center now. But Sam Bennett brings that jam, brings that the forecheck and the grittiness that Travis Green loves, especially for a bottom six player. Mm-hmm. And he's shown that in spurts he can play up in the lineup a little bit. I think better than Jake Virtanen can, at least in terms of with Bennett's proved that more than Jake has. And I think he'd be a good fit. Unfortunately, I don't foresee them making that trade. If you're going to just swap deck chairs, and make it a trade where you're basically trading, and I'll give Mike Halford from TSN 1040 the credit for this line. If you're trading an earache for a toothache type move, you kind of want to do that outside of the division, and because just in case it works for the other team but not you. So unfortunately I just don't see it being a trade that could have, if it was, especially because it's Calgary, who will be a division rival for the Canucks going forwards. It's not like it would be with Winnipeg, Montreal, Toronto, or Ottawa, where after this season we're most likely going back to the standard setup where they're not in the Canucks divisions or the Flames division. So yeah, I just don't see it being a fit trade-wise, even though I think Sam Bennett would be a fit on the Canucks.
I'm with Devin and Tyler. I think that this has been one of those things that has been percolating for some time. I just think about back to the playoffs. The best line for the Flames in the playoff in the bubble was Bennett, Dubé, and Lucic, and that line isn't even together now. I'm not saying it should be or it shouldn't be. I'm just pointing out something. We have seen, and I'm going to grant you that Sean Monahan and Johnny Gaudreau have played better this year. Much better. But it seems to me, I'm just going to maybe throw some scenarios from Sam Bennett's perspective that you can certainly agree or disagree with. He's been getting a little bit of like, well, we'll have to sit you down. We'll have to move you around. But for some reason, Sean Monahan and Johnny Gaudreau, when they weren't going, they wouldn't split them up. It feels a little bit, I wonder if Sam Bennett is feeling a little bit of this. It's a bit of a double standard here. You're treating some players really well. You're giving them all kinds of chances, but I struggle and you're not. You're either tossing me on the fourth line, tossing me on the third line. Yeah, Sam Bennett takes bad penalties, but there has been a lot of players on the Flames that takes bad penalties. And I mean, I guess every physical contact so far this year in the National Hockey League is actually a penalty. So, but that's a whole other topic for another time. How dare you defend a player? Tweet penalty. How dare you forecheck? Penalty. So I wonder from his perspective if he sees a little bit of a double standard. And we'll get to this players only meeting. I think this may be an interesting transition. Am I the only one that finds it interesting that this comes out after a players only meeting?
No, like I mentioned this before, like it's perfect timing for me. It makes total sense that was the timeline of that, because obviously there was some kind of talk there, and maybe I don't know if maybe Sam Bennett thinks he's being bullied, and that's why he's asking for a trade. Maybe some of the other guys are not very happy with him, or maybe somewhere in that team meeting he had this self-discovery of what that he might be part of some of the issues that are going on with the Flames, and he decided that he might want to explore this option. Him saying though that he wants a trade doesn't mean that he like absolutely hates it here and is completely checked out. I don't believe that's true at all. But no, so to answer your question, no, it's not. It's not a coincidence that this came after this player meeting that definitely needed to be had. By the way,
it really depends on whether or not it's been percolating, or if he's had discussions with Tree Living or Jeff Ward. He looks at himself as a center. And this offseason, Jeff Ward came out and said, our centers are Sean Monahan, Elias Lindholm, and Michael Backlund, and Sam Bennett. He literally said that in the offseason. So he hasn't had I don't think he's actually played center at all this year. He started off within the training camp playing center, but then, nothing came of it. And maybe that's where the discrepancy is. But I just have a hard time with having that leadership group within the dressing room. If Sam Bennett does feel bullied, that would happen. I feel like Giordano is better than that. I feel like Lucic is better than that. And I just don't know if it's a double standard between seeing, okay, well, Sean Monahan and Johnny Gaudreau aren't being split up because they aren't producing. They have a track record. Sam Bennett does not have that much of a track record. He's been a streaky scorer. And I don't know. I just don't see it with that comparison, but I can see as you're trying to figure out exactly what the hell's going on in his head, why he wants to trade. But I don't know. To me, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, Sam Bennett, and this was pointed out to me, and I didn't realize it until it was. He's the highest draft pick the Flames have ever had.
Yep,
at 4th overall. They've never picked in the top 3. They've had a few other good picks in the like 5 between 5 and 10, but in terms of pure just that he's the highest pick the Flames have ever had. And in terms of the players only meeting and all that, there seems to be a pattern with this group, and it's so hard to put a finger on it and try and figure out what's going on. How many coaches have they gone through? I know one wasn't necessarily their fault, but like, how many coaches have they gone through? How many, and how many times have they not performed at when needed? And the top players have not performed when needed, and you felt like there's something not quite right. Like I said, I don't know what it is. You can make these guesses whether there's a disconnect between, say, the Monahans and Gaudreaus and everyone else, or there's a disconnect within the room between the older guard and the newer guard, the newer players. But at this point, they need to find a way to make it work. They played a decent game last night. Markstrom definitely bailed them out a few times. I mean, he's used to it. That's basically what he did all last year. But to get that win was huge for them, because if you go in, you have a players only meeting, and then you shit the bed the next game, then that would have shown a lot more that there definitely is something rotten in that room. But I don't know what exactly it is, but they need to figure it out.
Yeah, and I agree with that sentiment too. About there's something that's been off with this team for the past couple years. With the inconsistency and just they're such a frustrating team to be a fan of, to be honest, because like they play well and then they don't play well, and they don't seem to get going. And yeah, something is up there. And like I knew for a while, like I suspected when Neil was around, like Neil was kind of accused of being not very good in the dressing room and kind of contributing to some of that toxicity. But now it's kind of, I'm starting to think about what other players might be might be contributing to that.
Well, that also was Dougie Hamilton. Dougie Hamilton, that was the report. That was the report as well, as he was part of the problem in the dressing room, and the report was and again, I'm just saying these are the reports. I'm not the NHL insider. My name is Kevin, not Elliot Friedman, Bob McKenzie, Darren Dreger. But the report is that Dougie Hamilton decided he wanted to not go to a team bar. He wanted to go to a museum instead of a team barbecue, and that turned a lot of the players off. And Dougie Hamilton isn't a guy that, I mean, the way that we talked about it yesterday with the Grit Per 60 podcast, when we talked about Blake Wheeler and Mark Scheifele, I don't know if Dougie Hamilton eats, lives, drinks, sleeps hockey. I think he likes hockey. I think he enjoys hockey, but he's probably one of those guys that needs to get away from it every once in a while, where maybe a Giordano and a Matthew Tkachuk, they live, eat, breathe, drink, sleep hockey. And that may be where that disconnect is.
Well, that, and I think they needed to have. I wouldn't be surprised if the person who called that meeting was Matthew Tkachuk.
Yes, I would not either. Let's go back to. I have this, I think, much better. Hopefully, share screen, Chrome tab. We've got it. Okay, Matthew Tkachuk here. Can you see this? I'm going to make sure that I have it. Okay, this is in full screen. So let's go back to the Leafs game. Do you see that? Matthew Tkachuk, yes. So we'll go back here. Muzzin flips that at Matthew Tkachuk. He goes in. There's barely any Flame walks into that fight. Like that took a little bit of a while, and that was something that Kevin Bieksa brought up on 960, I believe, Heidi. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So here he is, battle, yap. And then Matthew does that. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Matthew had something to say about that.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. That's what I was going to say. I'm pretty sure that he called that meeting, or he got Gio to call that meeting, because there was a definite. It seems very off that all the players kind of just skated off there for whatever reason, but those and I know the guys talked about this earlier in the midweek podcast, but those games against Toronto, like there was a total lack of give a fuck from the team. So that it was evident. It was evident right there in that clip that you showed, that maybe the only person that was kind of doing something was Tkachuk, and that was it. And there was a disconnect from everyone else. So that's why I'm saying that this players meeting maybe did help. Like maybe some things have come out of it, but it looked like it helped in terms of the game, at least last night.
Well, there was a lot of scrums and everything. The give a fuck meter, the Wolfpack per 60 was much better for the Flames in that game as opposed to the two versus Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Devin?
I would have loved to be a fly in the room right after that tantrum with Tkachuk, because you got to think that he was ripping into his team, being like, "Where the fuck were you guys? Why didn't you have our back?" And then potentially, Gio and him had a discussion and said, we need team only meeting. And I think Lucic is a big part of that room as well. So he probably helped out as well. But it was evident that it worked last night. They were working together. They were blocking shots. Even though it was Shea Weber, Val Mackey took one off the arm. Anderson took one off the inside of the leg. Oh, like God, I can't imagine how they're feeling today. But they got a gritty win last night. That's what you need.
Yeah, and Markstrom did stand up and was Markstrom again. But what about there's been some dispute about this. Where would Chris Tanev be in all this? Like some people from Vancouver said Chris Tanev was actually quiet in this room. I've heard other people say that Chris Tanev would bring a vocality to this room. What is Chris Tanev bringing to this room?
What he's more of a quiet leader. and he's not. He's not one that's comfortable talking in like public speaking. Like if you look through his career as a Canuck, he's not been one that's been very vocal, like in the media. He's been very quiet, but he does all this the behind the scenes stuff. He'll pull someone aside. He'll go for dinner with a player. You can't really do that right now because of all the COVID protocols and everything. But he's going to find a way to do that, to do the behind the scenes stuff, and that's going to help out as well.
Yeah, just to jump on Sean's point there, he's more of a lead by example type leader as opposed to having a speech in the room in front of the guys. Like he's going to be, like Sean said, he's going to be the guy that has a person over to have dinner with them and maybe mentor them and that sort of angle. It's just a different style of leadership.
I'd say just look at him. I mean, he's so beaten up, and everybody knows how he plays. He's a stay-at-home D-man, will block a shot 100 times out of 100. I mean, just having him there in the locker room and seeing how worse for wear the guy is, I think that counts for a lot with any team as well. Just his presence alone.
Yeah, I do think. Definitely think Tanev and Markstrom have made such a difference to what the Flames are looking like. Markstrom just brings a complete calmness to the team. And Tanev, I mean, Anderson blocks a shot now. All of a sudden, Valimaki blocks a shot. He is bringing an influence to this defense for sure. I'm just curious within the room where they would sit, and and I don't think it was a coincidence that you brought in a Tanev and a Markstrom to add something into that dressing room, because they both do have a pretty high give a fuck meter. So, I guess the other thing I really with the Flames that Devin, I think they are listening to the podcast, because it was you that suggested that Mangiapane play with Monahan and Goodrow. So maybe Brad Treliving or someone is listening to the hockey podcast and getting Devin advice.
Well, pretty soon I'm going to get a phone call here to be part of that coaching staff. So, no, I was happy to see that they actually tried him up there for a full game. It was, I feel like he fit in well. He was able to make plays in the offensive zone. I remember a few times he had a good pass good chemistry between the other two, and that's what they've been looking for the past 5 years. It feels like. So it's good to see that, and I hope that they continue that. And it's nothing against Dubé, but I feel like as of right now, Dubé has more offensive talent, but Mangiapane has more playmaking ability and a better overall game. And yes, Mangiapane has one more year of experience within the NHL, but it does make a big difference. And I was happy to see that.
Anything else with the Flames that we need to talk about?
No, I want to just be able to. I hope that whatever they started doing last night continues for the next little while, because that would be great to see.
Well, they've got 4 games. This is the first time I think that I can. This is the first time in this North Division that this is a 4-game series in Winnipeg. So what would be a reasonable expectation of points out of 8 to get out of Winnipeg?
I'm hoping 6. I don't know. I'm just gonna. I'll just say that I'm hoping about 6.
I'm expecting 5 or 6 for sure.
I'm in the 4 to 6 not unreasonable category. I think you want to make hay now, because when Pierre-Luc Dubois gets into that lineup, they're a better team. So I would want to get 6 if I'm the Flames. If you get 4, it's okay. If you come out with 2 or less,
oof.
Yeah.
No, you at least want to split it, at least.
Yeah. And then you got the Oilers next, so
you want to be ramping up for that for sure.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on Monahan. He's quietly been, in my mind, very, very good. He's been playing the right way, doing the little things right. I've really enjoyed watching him. He hasn't been flashy, but quietly he's been doing the things that needs to be done to win hockey games. And along with Hannafin's confidence is just through the roof right now. You can tell by the way that he's playing, he's skating. The Tanev dad effect, I don't know, that has to be a part of it, because it's a night and day difference from him last year to this year. Last year, once he had the puck, you cringed.
Yeah.
Now he has the puck, and he got second power play duties last night, which was fantastic. He was out there with Anderson and Gio. That's the other thing, is that on that first power play, they've been switching around Gio and Anderson, and I'm not a fan of that at all. I think Gio needs to take a step back, and I think they need to solidify either put Hannafin on there right now. God, you get when his confidence says it as a career high, put him on there. See what happens. He has a hell of a shot. He has good playmaking ability, and obviously they're not happy with Anderson right now. If they're putting Gio back on there, so it's been those have been the highlights of other than Markstrom on the Flames. So I'm super happy about that.
Yeah, Sorry, I was going to say that I agree with the whole Tanev Hannafin thing. Hannafin's looking so much better with that. Poll for you guys: is there a pairing name? Is it Tanafin or is it Tanevin?
Tanafin.
Tanafin, yeah.
I also like Tanafin.
Yeah.
Well, that pair hasn't allowed an even strength goal against this whole season.
Yeah, that's the stat.
Are you surprised we haven't seen Oliver Shillington yet?
No.
I think Connor Mackey has a better chance to get in the lineup right now than Oliver Shillington. I think Shillington, like I said, could be a part of the Sam Bennett trade, and that's how we could potentially do a 2-for-1 trade and get maybe someone who's just a bit better than who could potentially be in that middle six forward pairings. So yeah, I'm not surprised.
And the other thing is how did you feel David Rittich played on Thursday?
I wasn't happy with it. That being said, it was his first game. The team was not playing very well in front of him. So that I don't think that helped him either. I think he'll get better as time goes on, and he's allowed to. He's able to play more games, and I'm hoping that Markstrom's willing to work with him and see what maybe how Markstrom can improve his game, because I feel that that Rittich picked up some bad habits from Mike Smith. So I'd like to maybe see if Markstrom can calm him down a little bit.
Rittich, I thought he played decent. I thought he played well enough to give Calgary a chance. It's just Heidi said it. The team in front of him didn't play well, and that might be the confidence of the team in Rittich as of right now, and that's never a good sign when you're not playing well in front of your backup goalie, because no matter what, Rittich's going to play. He'll definitely play within this next 4-game stint, and they really need to find proper confidence within Rittich that he will make those stops. But yeah, the team played shitty in front of him, but I thought he played well.
Yeah, there was only one goal I was like, one went off Valimaki. The 2 power play goals. I mean, I guess you can argue one way or the other, but the Flames did piss poor anything else back. So I don't know. I don't feel like that was so totally a fair thing for Rittich, but Markstrom got the win before. We do have some comments. Hey guys. Hey Caleb. Good to see you. Hello and hi Heidi. It's from Phoenix. So Heidi has a fan.
Yep.
Tyler, love to see Bennett for Virtanen. Both the guys need to change the scenery. I do agree both guys need to change the scenery. I just don't think the Flames would do that trade. we've already talked about. And it's great to see Mittens back in the pod, interested in his thoughts on the Canucks' recent success and with Virtanen being a healthy scratch. Time to give up on the project. And shout out to Jamie Dodd on Canucks Central. We had a little bit of a discussion yesterday on Sportsnet 650 about this. And maybe I'll just start with my synopsis, Tyler, and see where you're at. Virtanen, because we talked about Virtanen and Gaudette, but I think sort of Virtanen to me has been a guy that's been given a number of chances. He was put on the number one line when Miller was out. He was on the Lotto line. And, you know, I think to me that this is a situation that we either accept that he's a bottom six forward and that he's a healthy scratch. And I think we've given him the chances to prove who Jake Virtanen is. And we had this off-season conversation again. He moves to Kelowna. He's supposed to be in shape. Everything is better. And we've gotten sort of the same Jake Virtanen. I think for that, I don't know what Travis Green can do with him anymore other than to accept that he is a bottom 6 to 13. He's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13th forward on the team. Gaudette, let's save Gaudette, but where are you at with Virtanen? Are you there? Or are you?
Yeah, I'm all the same as you, Kevin. I mean, I don't know what else they can really try with him, and they gave it an earnest effort as a top six player when JT Miller missed the start of the season, and the Canucks didn't play very well. And now I think it's pretty clear that Zach McEwen has earned himself a regular spot. Gaudette is a center. You got Niels Höglander. You start running out of places for Virtanen to play. I know we could discuss the merits of whether he should be in and say somebody else like Antoine Roussel doesn't play or whatever. But I mean, once you've fallen out of favor with the coach and it's been this many years, I don't know what, nothing's magically going to change the situation and make Jake Virtanen suddenly this huge fit for the team.
Like if there was going to be a player that had an advantage with the coach, it would have been Jake Virtanen. He played with him down when Travis was still the coach of the Comets. And so you think that he would have been able to utilize that for success in the NHL, but it clearly just hasn't worked out.
Mm-hmm. Jake's a streaky player. Like we talked about Sam Bennett. Jake's a streaky player. He'll get on a roll and he'll pot 2-3 goals in a 4-game stretch and then go quiet for a while. What you want to see from Jake Virtanen is the development of the detailed part of the game, the defensive part of the game, and the play away from the puck. And I think I've actually thought he's played quietly okay in that aspect. But the key word there is quietly. You look at Zach McEwen in 6 minutes of ice time, he's still managing to make an impact with goals and fights and hits and forechecking and energy. Adam Gaudette comes in and he's doing the same with energy and forechecking with limited ice time. But we're not really noticing Jake Virtanen. I remember watching, I think it was the first Ottawa game before he got the healthy scratch. I'm like, did I notice him out there? Like, did they say his name on the broadcast at all?
Yeah. And
that first game was the bottom 6 that was carrying the team. It was the hat trick from Sutter. It was Mott had 2 goals or Mott had a goal. And it just was at the point where I'm like, yeah, I think there needs to be a change. I think he needs to sit because he needs to understand that, especially under Travis Green, if you're going to play in the bottom 6 role, you need to bring energy. You need to bring defensive awareness. You need to be able to do the best with what the smaller ice time that you're going to get.
Yeah. Devin, Heidi, did you have anything to add there?
No, not really.
Yeah, he needs to solidify himself that he can actually play the cliche 200-foot game, doing the little things right. And if he doesn't do that, Sean's right. Travis Green is not going to be willing to put him out there, especially within the bottom 6 role. So putting him up in the stands, make him look at the game a little bit different. It might change his mind, but it doesn't seem like his he's has enough tenure in this league that it's going to be hard for. It seems like it's going to be hard for him to change the way that he's playing right now.
Yeah,
For me, the one thing in defense of Jake is I don't think they've got a center that can utilize his skills the best. You've got Brandon Sutter, you've got Jay Beagle and Adam Gaudette. Gaudette's still trying to find his way. Beagle and Sutter are fourth line centers, and they aren't the best. They aren't centers who are known for their playmaking skills and to be able to feed Virtanen and find and be able to create space for Virtanen to use his shot and speed. So in that aspect, I think that's part of the reason why he's looked so quiet and disappears for long stretches. But he also needs to step up and find a way to make it work with who he's on the line with. They've even tried him on the off wings and maybe open up that shot, and wasn't able to really produce at a level that would be what we're looking for from him.
So, okay, but to counter that, I understand what you're saying, but this is also the same bottom six that has Tyler Mott that has 5 goals. We have Zach McEwen who scored last night, his first goal. You also have and the Hoglanders playing in the top 6, but now Hoglanders finding ways to get goals.
Exactly.
So, I mean, if it's you don't have the right centerman to play with him, I like it seems to me that other players are finding ways to get goals with the centerman. And no one is going to sit here and claim. I'm not going to sit here and claim that Brandon Sutter and Jay Beagle are exactly McDavid and Draisaitl, but the bottom 6 is producing goals, and they are producing points. It's not like no one is in the bottom 6 is doing anything. So
that was kind of my point there. Is like he doesn't necessarily have the right center, but he still needs to find a way.
Yeah.
Even if it's not producing points, but throwing a hit here and there, going in, creating havoc on the forecheck. That's literally how Hoglander got his goal last night. That shift was amazing. He created a turnover. He drove the net. The puck protection on that drive to the net was fantastic. And then he didn't give up. There is no give up in Hoglander. And he went back, created more havoc. The puck was bouncing all over the place, and then he whacked it in the net. Like, it wasn't a pretty goal, but it was a hard-working goal. And that's the type of goals that we need to see from Virtanen. Those are the type of goals that Tyler Mott scored. Those are the type of goals that Sutter has scored this year.
Yeah. Although his backhand, Brandon Sutter's backhand has just been dynamic. But
just one final point I think on Virtanen is like this entire time that the Canucks have had him, we've been hoping he's going to develop into something else, develop into this power forward, develop into this better player that we've been hoping for. And clearly it just hasn't happened. This is the Jake Virtanen we've got, and he's inconsistent, he's streaky. So I guess we just have to try and utilize him to the best of our ability at this point, and then try and manage that moving forward. Like, I'm not sure what the solution is.
And how much do you want to sacrifice the rest of your lineup to make him work? You don't.
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah.
Well, I think that's where the coach is at now. It's just the easy move for him is to just sit him and have everything else fall into place.
Yeah. I mean, for both Bennett and Virtanen, just as a reminder, William Nylander, Nikolai Ehlers, Nick Ritchie, Kevin Fiala, Jacob Vrana, Dylan Larkin were some of the names that were picked shortly after Bennett and Virtanen. And we all see these guys as higher end players in the National Hockey League. The Grit Per 60 podcast said Nikolai Ehlers was the best forward on the Jets. Devin's a huge Nylander fan. Fiala, pretty solid player in Minnesota. Dylan Larkin, one of the best players in Detroit. So
he was named captain too.
Yep.
Yes.
What about Gaudette though? Like, I guess for me, I just don't know if Travis Green knows where he fits. It doesn't seem like he fits quite at center, but don't know if he fits quite on the wing. I just don't think they have a quite figured out where Gaudette fits more than anything else. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think that is a fair assessment. He just hasn't. He hasn't been able to be strong enough to stand up with as a center. He's got the wheels. He's got the shot. He's got the ability to score. You just need to find a spot for him. And I think what's interesting with the Canucks, like if you move Gaudette to the wing, they've got they need to figure out what's going on with the third line center going forwards. But the depth on the wings coming, a young depth on the wings that the Canucks are going to have over the next few years is going to be interesting to watch. You've got Podkolzin coming in. Hoglander's been a revelation. Do not sleep on Coland. I think this might be his breakout year in the AHL, where he's going to take that next step and push for. If this was a normal season, he'd be pushing for a call up. Just that's not an option right now with him being in Utica, not Manitoba. But maybe going into next year, he might be someone who can step up. Zach McEwen's become a really nice fourth line player for them. Tyler Mott's been a nice fourth line player. William Lockwood, don't sleep on him, but they're all sort of bottom end players. If Gaudette can push for potentially some top into the top six, that opens things up for the Canucks to help with just the having the depth that you need to be a top end team would be fantastic if you can figure things out as a winger, or ideally still figure it out at center.
Tyler, Chris,
I don't really have much to add.
Just in regards to the Canucks more generally, I just wanted to make the point what a difference a week makes, eh? And
holy cow.
I think we're going to see this with every division throughout the shortened season. A week with the schedule being so compressed, you can get 4 games in a week. Suddenly, things can be turned around in a big hurry. And the Flames beating Montreal, that's the Habs' first regulation loss of the season. Might we start to see a bit of a leveling effect now for those teams at the top of the division? If that's the case, I mean, really, I think any team's got a shot here outside of Ottawa. The Senators really needed to get something against the Canucks, a team that was reeling coming into that series. And then not only did the Senators not pick up any points, but they got worked pretty badly in the 3 games. So, for the Canucks now, they've got, I think it's 2 against Montreal and then 2 against Toronto. Getting a split of those games, I'd be happy with. If it's a losing record against those, it's we're kind of back to feeling the heat when looking at the standings.
So yeah, Vancouver with their win tied Montreal for second. And now between the top, I love you, Ottawa, but we're just going to put you over here now. The top 6 teams, there's a difference of 8 points. Toronto got a point last night. Edmonton's win squeezes them within 2. Calgary's within 3, and there's 5-point difference between 6 and second. And I know it's early and there's a number of different games, but you're right. It's going to jam this a little bit more, especially when your bottom end teams are starting to make that catch up. So, then that certainly happened last night with Vancouver winning, Edmonton winning, and Calgary winning.
Yeah, I think I've said this a few times. I think we are going to see big swings within all the divisions, just because of how the schedule is. And if a top team loses 2-3 in a row, that's going to bring them right back to the pack. Especially because guess what? You're losing 2 or 3 in a row to division rivals, 1 or 2. And it's going to be like I'm really enjoying this. It's so hard not to look to not get sucked into just looking at the North Division. Like holy crap! Yeah, there is other hockey going on outside of Canada.
Yeah,
the games here are just fantastic, and the drama here is fantastic. So Canucks definitely need to make sure that they at least get a split out of both those 2-game sets, or at least get 4 points out of the next, at the very least 4 points out of the next 4 games. If you can find a way to get 6+, that's really going to create some buzz and some momentum going into the second quarter of their season. Yes, we've reached that point.
Yeah, it's hard to believe we're in that point. Just for fun facts, in the East, 5 points separate 1 to 5 so far. And again, I know it's early. 5 points separate 1 to 8 in the Central, between Columbus and Detroit. We've got a 5-point difference between 1 and 7 in the West. So it's already a cram and a battle, and nobody is really running away. I guess my question is, how important is it to win this division? Like really, is it like, oh my gosh, I really want to make sure that we win the regular season title?
Yes. For bragging rights more than anything else. But in terms of playoffs, as long as you've got the home ice advantage, so you've got the, even then it's not that big. I don't think how big a deal it is, but just get home ice advantage, get that last change for the at least one series, if not both before you get into the and go from there. But it's more for bragging rights more than anything else.
The one thing I was just going to say about the kind of the way that the point spreads are and stuff within not just the North Division, but everywhere else is, you got to remember that we have had teams like the Flames who played 3 games and then had a week off.
Yep.
So when you're looking at the standings, it looks a little odd because they've played less games. And eventually the other teams will start getting their breaks and stuff. And then in the divisions that are in the States, you have games that have been getting canceled. So again, you have teams that have played, like the spread of games played is getting a little bit, is already starting to get a little bit wonky. So I'm like hesitant to like really be like ranking watching like that much constantly, because the change in that, I think, is just everyone's gonna go up and down, I think, more often than quote unquote other like more regular and normal seasons.
The imbalance in games played is also wreaking havoc with hockey pools out there everywhere too. But
Yeah.
Just very quickly, one thing that I still have to wonder about the current format is, how strong is the division really compared to the other divisions? Can we, you can look at the records and say, oh, Montreal and Toronto can compete with the top teams around the league. Well, can they? We don't really know. They're not facing each other head to head. So, there's a bit of it's not an asterisk per se, but it's a bit of a just remember, they're only playing each other. As we get further into it, we'll start to see who really are the top 3 or 4 teams in the North Division. But can any of them compete against, say, a Philadelphia or a Vegas? I don't know.
Yeah, that's
name a couple of strong teams out there.
Yeah.
With how the divisions were basically built and how the playoffs are going to be played this year, I honestly think we could see a surprise team just like sneak into the playoffs and go on a run. Like, if there's a year that it's going to happen, it's probably going to be this year.
Yeah, Toronto has their 5-day break right now. They played on Saturday and won't play until Thursday, so there's a lot of room there for teams in the North to catch up to them. Going to your first question though, Kev, I think getting first is ideal. You do want to get first, not just for bragging rights, but for the fact that I think the 4th team that's going to be within this group is not going to be as strong as the top 3. And I think that'll be evened out throughout the season. But yeah, I think it's more of an asterisk to Tyler's point. I think it's more of an asterisk than the bubble, because the bubble, you're actually playing against pretty much everybody within your conference at that point. And then, now it's just going to be, say for Chris's point, someone goes on a run, but in the regular season, it probably wouldn't happen.
Yeah, the bubble, following what was most of a regular season, the round robin and having 12 teams in each can be debated as to, whether that's departing from reality too much. But for the most part, they were able to complete a season with a normal playoff, no rule changes, right? So that resembled more normal than what we've got right now.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess it's going to be intriguing because we're going to see, like, when we get to the Final Four teams that have not seen each other. So it's going to be, that'll be really fun for watching, but it also may be a reality check for someone too. So, I mean, even with this Niels Hoglander for Calder talk, I get it. I certainly understand the enthusiasm for it, but for right now, in terms of awards, I'm having trouble. I mean, I almost wonder if with this year, you go by division and just say, this is the Hart winner in the North, this is the Hart winner in the West, this is the Hart winner in the Central and the South. I see Sean giving me a funny look, but it's really hard for me to say. It's going to be hard to say that someone is an MVP when they haven't played everybody.
Kevin having a hard time making a decision? Shocking.
Unfortunately, there's only one of those trophies each, but I take Kevin's point there. Without the interdivisional play, it does kind of make it difficult to pick these awards.
Especially Vezina. I mean, you have Biddington and you have Lehner over in the West. Like, honestly, the amount of competition over there is not as high as it is everywhere else. So it's hard to, especially with that one, it would be very hard to crown a winner.
Yeah. You have to. There'll be a lot more digging into the advanced stats on in terms of how they've, especially with the goalies, using the advanced stats to see how difficult the saves that they've made, and how much high danger shots they've truly faced, and scoring chances they've truly faced versus other goalies. There's ways to do it. I don't think you do it per division. I think that's, sorry, Kev, but I think that's crap. I think you just gotta figure it out. Like, that's what it is. There's going to be, you know what I think is going to happen? I think it's going to be a very heavy Canadian contingent on those awards, just because of how many media members have watched that. But there's been smart ones who will find a way to wade through it and find a way to make sure that they get the right candidates, or at least who they think are the right candidates. But I know, I get what you're saying, Kev, but I just think it's just there's ways around it, and these awards, they shouldn't be cut and dry. They should be tough decisions.
But this isn't
steps up.
This isn't, to me, it isn't a tough decision as much as you're looking at, you don't have a full scope here. Like, let's look at Makar versus Hughes. Like that is the Vancouver thing. And I do want to get into a Hughes comment here very quickly after this, but Makar versus Hughes, you look at the competition, Vancouver, there's going to be a Vancouver contingent. It's going to say Quinn Hughes gets the Norris or the best defenseman for sure. Except Devin, because he's going to say Thomas Chabot. But the Colorado folks are going to be like, what about, look at what Makar has done. And it's like, yes, there's some underlying stats, but you also have to look at competition. You have to look at goaltending. You have to look at a number of different things. And I don't know if this isn't a year of exact science, is my point.
None of these are exact sciences when they do it in a regular season anyways. MVP, most valuable player. How many times do we have that argument of who should actually win that award? The most valuable player to their team, or the best player of the year? Right? That's not an exact science. The Selke is an absolute gong show. Norris is one that you can go multiple ways on. Do you go with the defenseman that had the biggest impact on the game offensively, or the one who's actually been a really good stay-at-home defenseman that doesn't actually get awarded it, right? There's just it's not an exact science in a normal year, and yes, it's a little more convoluted this year, but I think it's just find a way to go wade through the muck and find a way to figure out who you think are the best players.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll debate this at a future time, but we'll leave it for there. So who had Jordy Benn and Quinn Hughes on their bingo card this year? That's the defense pair.
No, I'm glad you bring that up, though. Sean used the word revelation earlier in reference, I believe, to Niels Höglander. I'm going to say that Jordy Benn's been the biggest revelation for the Canucks. I mean, who would have thought this? It putting him on the I mean, he was a seventh D-man in the bubble last year, and now playing on the top pair with Quinn Hughes and really stabilizing things back there. Ever since that move was made, Canucks have turned it around here dramatically, and I like his game. He's pretty crafty. He's playing on the offside. He's physical. He'll block shots. He's doing his best Chris Tanev out there right now, quite honestly, just trying to stabilize things back there.
Chris?
Yeah, I have to agree that he's definitely been a big surprise this season as far as the success that he's had with Quinn. I don't think any of us really saw it coming. I don't know if there's any way you would have had any sort of precursors that was coming down the pike. But yeah, obviously happy that it's working out and happy that our defense has turned their game around and not given up nearly as many odd man rushes going back the other way. So yeah, happy with how it's currently going.
Yeah, Jordy Benn, he's just a better defenseman on the right side. He however he thinks the game, he thinks it better when he's playing on his offside, and he's making simple plays, being a relief valve for Quinn Hughes, and it's working. Going into this season, the blue line, I liked the left side that the Canucks had with Edler, Schmidt, if you wanted to play him there. Levy has shown well at times, and Hughes, Edler, Schmidt, Levy, but I wasn't sold on the right side because you had, if you move, you could move Schmidt over. You had Myers, who is not necessarily someone who you're going to be able to rely on for big minutes and be able to feel comfortable with it. Getting Hominick, I thought, was a good signing, but he struggled after not playing for how long, almost a year basically. But being able to move Bennett in on that right side and calming things down a little bit has been fantastic. Another revelation on that right side has been Jalen Chatfield too.
Yep.
He definitely is better than I thought he was. I knew he was a solid defensive guy, but he's better with the puck than I thought. That surprised me. And he's got a little bit of snarl to him. Like if he can become a quiet, good third pair defenseman on the right side for the Canucks going forwards, that's a huge win.
He sort of reminds me a little bit. He has some Chris Tanev in him. I'm not saying he's the next I'm not declaring Jalen Chatfield to be the next Chris Tanev, but he has some Tanev qualities in him.
A little bit. I think he's got a little more snarl than Tanev. I think. I know last night he was getting the Bieksa rub, and I think there's a little bit of the Bieksa in him, but he doesn't have the swagger, the get underneath the opponent's skin right now. Maybe he will develop that, but I just want him to be a nice, quiet, physical, stay-at-home defenseman for the third pair, and that would be, like I said, that'd be a great add, especially because, as I said, the right side for the Canucks, even going forwards, is something that leaves a little bit to be desired. What do we have with Brogan Rafferty? Jet Wu's is playing his first pro season. On the left side, they've got a lot more depth with Rathbone and Sotner and Brisebois, who have all so. Like I said, I think if Chatfield can build on this and become a regular, it's a huge win.
I just, for me, before someone else jumps in, just quickly, I just, to me, he showed a lot jumping into standing up to Brady Tkachuk after the Tkachuk hit on Tyler Mott before that Brady temper tantrum. I mean, yes, it's a penalty, whatever, but at least he showed some gumption to jump into and do something about it. So you got to give him credit for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anything else with the Canucks we need to dig into?
I want to continue to talk, shower Hogline with praise. Like I said, his work ethic is insane. Like, he does not have an off button. He's so smart with the puck when he gets it. He goes and gets the puck and then makes a smart but safe pass with it for the most part. He doesn't try and do too much with it. He's not trying to deke out the whole team. He goes in with high motor, wins almost every battle for the puck he goes in for, and then looks up for a pass, and then he's already moving to an open spot to get the pass back, and he's really opened up that second line to become a legit threat every time they're on the ice, even if they're not scoring.
Mm-hmm. Well, and he had his first awkward Scott Oak interview as well, where he confirmed that he would not be afraid to try the lacrosse style goal. I don't think he wanted to talk about it. He was pressed into it hard enough, but I think I would.
Yeah.
That was a cute interview, by the way.
Yeah.
It was adorable.
Yeah. Just to jump quickly into some other news here, we'll get to some quick other NHL news. Jim Rutherford abruptly, suddenly, quite shockingly resigned from the Pittsburgh Penguins as GM. This was after he actually signed a player. He signed Yannick Weber to a contract, and then he sends an email to the organization and says, "I'm out. See you later." I mean, I don't know, but maybe there's something weird going on in Pittsburgh, and maybe there's some really tough decisions that need to be made here. And sounds like there may be a debate of which way you want to go in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's there are multiple reports out there all lead to a point that it sounded like there was more fingers in the pie than just Rutherford. It sounded like he was forced into making some moves on the offseason, getting rid of assistant coaches and getting rid of assistant GMs that he didn't want to do. I think he had one or two trades that got nixed by ownership as well, including, I think they were looking at moving Letang as one of the reports. So I think he just was like, you know what? I think with everything going on, I think it's time for me to step away. And so it's sometimes that happens. You have disagreements, and you can't. You're especially when you're as experienced and as Jim Rutherford and getting on in years where you're like, well, maybe I step away and think about retirement because his contract is up at the end of this season. So I think he just wanted to take time and step away and mull over what he wants to do next.
Anyone
It
else?
definitely was quite shocking, but makes you kind of ask, like, does this mean that there's a rebuild going on in Pittsburgh now?
I don't know if there's going to be a rebuild until one of Crosby and Malkin are out of there, but if it's not his health and it was confirmed that personal reasons was not health related, it does make you wonder if it's more of a professional disagreement than anything else.
Yeah, Rutherford, he hasn't been afraid of any type of trade. If he thinks that the team needs a shakeup, he's more than happy to pull that trigger. So I think that's exactly what it is. It's a professional move. Ryan Burke already said that he's talked with Rutherford and said that he is looking forward to his next adventure, whether or not that's retirement or potentially with another team. And I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes an advisor or some sort of upper management role with another team. I don't think he's done yet. And because he was with Carolina when they won the Cup. He's had 2 rings with Pittsburgh, and he's a winner. And I love those type of GMs who aren't scared to do stuff, aren't scared to pull the trigger, especially with a big guy like Chris Letang that was rumored. So I love it, and I hope I see him again within the NHL.
Yeah, I agree. And you're not going to see there's a whole other thing about what you do with Crosby and Malkin. It's unlikely that you're going to ever trade those two, but that's an interesting debate for another time. I'll leave it there for that, though. Connor did something. Let's see if I can show this here. I mean, even Carl the cat was impressed with Connor last night. I'll just go back. Can we see that? We're in full screen here, so I'll just move this up a little bit. Just gonna go here. He had a couple of defensemen. And yeah, I'm just gonna score. Yeah, no big deal. Yeah, just another day. Hi, I'm Connor. I like to score goals. Devin, how did you feel about that?
Amazed and pissed off, really. It was mixed feelings for sure. I mean, he just shows that he is the best player in the world, and just it's spectacular. He's a phenomenal player, and it's not the first time that he's done this. He's gone through an entire team, and he made a fool of Morgan Riley last year. So, what can you do? Who can actually stop this guy? I don't know.
There is no one in the NHL playing hockey in the world that has the ability to use his speed and agility the way that Connor uses it. But when he gets going, like as soon as I saw the beginning of that clip, I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Like, because you see him picking the puck up and he's accelerating through the defensive zone, and you're like, he's gonna pick through everyone and then go and score a great goal. Yep, that's exactly what he did. His acceleration and ability to handle the puck at that speed is just mind-boggling. There is no one better than that, better than him, or even close to him at that with those skills.
He just makes everybody look like a pylon. Like just like you don't even see anyone else like even basically moving or doing anything. That just by the time they get a chance to like react, he's already on the other side of the ice. So.
Well, that's the key. You can't over anticipate him. He'll burn you big time if you try to do that. And all of those points made, plus doing it with a long stick. He's he that reach is. It makes it very hard to get the puck away from him. And then on the finish of the play, I mean, for most players, that thing is probably too far out of reach to get a decent shot off, and for him, it's nothing. He just flicks it upstairs.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, in summary, it's basically just McJesus doing McJesus things.
Yeah, it's Saturday, and he's not even like, he doesn't even pump his fist. It's like, it's Saturday. What else am I going to do? I had nothing to do in Edmonton. I'm just going to go through.
On the point of the Oilers, I mean, that was a huge win for them last night. They really needed that one to keep pace with Vancouver after falling behind a little bit in the standings. And the Oilers are getting a little bit of contribution from other players. Josh Archibald got a goal there last night. Nice backdoor, sharp angle shot. They seem to be working that down low play a lot more here. So I don't know if they've identified something there against the Leafs, but right back at it again tonight against Ottawa. As big a win, and McDavid playing well, and the highlights and an overtime winner and all that. The problem with Edmonton has been game to game. You're not sure what you're going to get, and if they bring their A game, they'll beat Ottawa tonight. But will they bring their A game? It's hard to say.
They can't defend the lead.
Yeah.
Well, and also, how many times are you going to bring Koskinen in? Right, you're going to burn him out like they did with Talbot.
Yeah,
it sounds like Stuart Skinner is playing today for the Oilers, not Koskinen.
Well, that's against Ottawa. Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, as good as he has been, or as stable as he's been for them, I would be worried about burnout factor too.
Yeah, they can't hold leads though. They still have those fine Oiler qualities that we've known and loved over the years. Still,
Yes.
yeah. Just the other thing, I just wanted to quickly touch on this. I know that probably no one has listened to it. I'm just going to encourage you to listen to this because we talked about Tim and Sid last week, but Tim and Sid were on 31 Thoughts this week with Elliot Freeman and Jeff Merrick. They kind of dug in more as to what happened, as to what the decision was. I won't spoil too much, but it was Tim's reaction to what's next was quite interesting to me because he didn't necessarily say that was willing to go on with the show. He says, I have a blank canvas and I'm open to ideas. So,
well, yeah, you're not gonna if you go on say with the same deal that was Tim and Sid, it's not going to be the same, and people are going to tune out because they had something special. So it's time to try and figure out what is next and what can be the next special thing. Tim McAuliffe is very talented. He's done a few everything within sports media. He's done highlights. He's done hosting on radio, TV. He's done play-by-play for football. Like he's got his options, and I think it's smart of him to trying to do something different and not just play into the same thing that was what made Tim and Sid special, because when you try and copy something that you've done in the past but can't do it justice, you're gonna lose more people than if you try something different.
I think it has to do with who is going to be his co-host and figure out what that dynamic is and then play off of that. Mm-hmm. And that'll be the easiest thing. That's not easy, but that would be the recipe to make a good next show. So whoever that is going to be is going to dictate, I think, where that show goes.
Yeah, I agree. I think whoever they have as the next host, but it is going to be interesting to see what Tim does and what Sid does even in the future, because I could see Sid getting into politics at some point in time.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think Tim McAuliffe could do just fine on his own, honestly, if they decide to go that route.
Yeah,
just call it the Tim McAuliffe Show. As Sean pointed out, he's done almost everything in broadcasting. And very, very diverse skill set. I'm sure he could make that show interesting.
Yeah,
and I'm sure he'd be still a lot more entertaining than Bob McCowan was when he had a TV show.
Oh, Bob was fine. I liked Bob.
I liked Bob too.
I'm not trying to disrespect Bob and his knowledge and all that. I'm just saying, as far as a TV show and excitability, especially as someone who is from out west and he primarily talks about East stuff, like that show was a snore fest for me.
Well, Bob's doing great on his podcast still. He's still going. He's got John Shannon alongside.
Well, Bob's more of a radio guy, so like putting him on TV was not the. And putting radio shows on TV without like working the fact that you're actually on TV just doesn't work anymore. So you got to find a way to play to both mediums if you're going to do that. But I would hope is that if they keep Tim, is they split it. I think you have to split radio from TV now. It's just doesn't work, because either you're playing too much of the TV side and you're playing too much visual stuff, or you're not using the visual medium enough, and it doesn't work.
The only excuse I'll take for radio shows on TV is if it's a lockout season and there's no other sports to show.
Yeah, I get it depends on the audience, and it depends on how it works. Tim and Sid made it work for sure. It's really hard to McCowan. I don't think McCowan cared, quite frankly. McCowan was just doing his thing, and he's like, I've got so many other business ventures in Ontario that if you turf me, I'm going to be able to survive anyway. So that just was his attitude, and he's thriving. He's thriving now on the podcast. He's got his wine business. He's one of those guys too that he appeals to a niche market, and he doesn't give a fuck. Oh, I almost was like, do I swear? He doesn't give a fuck. He really does. Yeah. Anyway, anything else we need to chat about?
The only thing I wanted to bring up is the fact that Hockey Talks was earlier this week, and I just wanted to give a shout out to Corey Hirsch about that second intermission that he had with Murph. Like, I find that men have a hard time opening up, especially when they're on camera. So the fact that he took the time to be that vulnerable and to show that much courage.
Yeah, that was something to. John Liu as well on Bell Let's Talk opened up about his. He was diagnosed with COVID and he lost his sister, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. To COVID as well. So he opened up about what he's been dealing with as well. So, yeah, Hockey Talks. That's a great program that I would encourage people to support.
Oh, the other thing I just wanted to bring up is NWHL. And being able to watch that, and it being so easy to watch through Twitch, and everybody with an internet connection and a phone or a computer or a laptop, whatever, can watch all the games. And I've been catching them as much as I can. Sometimes they've been running during the day while I've been working, so I haven't been able to check them out. But if you haven't had a chance, there's still, I don't have the schedule up in front of me, but if you haven't already checked one out, I highly suggest it. It's been good hockey. It's been the commentating they have on it is fantastic, and the community in the little chat room that is a part of it is awesome as well.
Yeah, and Sportsnet's been pumping up the scores and highlights as well. I've noticed during Hockey Night there, so that's been great exposure for the league as well.
Yeah, I believe that they just got a sponsorship with Discover as well, and that's really going to pump up their ability to pay the players. And I really hope that we can get this league supported enough that the PWHA can come in. They can bring in these the top end players again, and then you can build a from both, because I think that's one thing that will hold them back is the lack of star power that we as the general public know, and hopefully we can help them grow. Was it the game between the Buffalo Buttes and the Boston Pride? I think had over 25,000 viewers when I saw it. When I was watching a little bit yesterday, and that is great, and I really hope we can get them the exposure they need to build that league, because it's good hockey. It is good hockey. It's not. Do not just think it's not good enough hockey, because it is good hockey. It's fun to watch. They're doing some fun stuff. They've got the neutral zone, I think is got a slightly different color.
It's lavender, apparently.
Yeah, okay, lavender, purple,
and as well as the nets as well.
Yeah,
are also purple.
So it's good. It's fun. It's fun hockey. And it should be. If you have time, give it a watch.
Yeah, there's a game on right now, by the way. If you're watching live, just go on twitch.tv/NWHL, I think is how you find it. Just Google it.
I'm just marveling at the team name Buffalo Buttes. I think that's just great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got, was it the Buffalo Buttes, Boston Pride, Toronto 6?
Yeah. Some really creative names there.
The Metropolitan Riveters,
who have the best jerseys, by the way. It's sad to see them that they had to unfortunately leave the tournament, but they're the team that I decided to root for, and it started with the fact that they had the best jerseys.
That's fair. Well, we should probably get offline, and so we can let people watch the NWHL, as well as get people ready for those that are watching the Royal Rumble, if they are into that kind of thing. But Wednesday we'll be back for the midweek intermission, because I know that there's no Flames Canucks game on Wednesday. I can say Wednesday we are doing that. So we've got that. So how do we follow everyone?
I am Beardy Canucks 03 on Twitter.
I am at Heidi Mazeballs on Twitter and Instagram.
I'm on Twitter at tnoble, TNOBLE.
I am on most social media at Schneids.
I'm on Twitter, Gordhouse09.
And I am KEVOLE. Podcast_hockey is our Twitter handle. Facebook.com. Give us a like there. YouTube. Subscribe there. Subscribe to our podcast wherever all podcasts are sold. And thanks everyone for listening. Thanks everyone for the comments. Great discussion. And we will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now. Oh, we have a comment. Late comment. Hold on. Yes, Jeremy says Amy Curlew from Goose Bay, Labrador is player for the Toronto Six. So there we go. Watch for Amy Curlew. There we go. Okay. That's it. Bye for now.